Today we're going to listen to Peter Malinauskas and see what he says.
And this is where I will say something that Corey Bernardi won't, and the Liberal leader won't, right? You know, my message to One Nation voters is, who's going to feed you and bathe you and wipe your bum when you're 90? Right? Because it ain't going to be your kids. Because if I get my way, they're going to be working on submarines.
Wait, so your idea is that all Australian kids are going to be working on submarines? I know that's not a fair call out, but it seems to be what you're saying. I mean, where is everyone else going to be working other than submarines? Or are we going to have that many submarines?
Huh? With high-paying jobs. So
we're going to have all these high-paying jobs that are going to push up housing prices further. Okay.
Can afford to own their home.
Well, as the prices keep going up and the demand keeps going up, how are they going to afford these homes?
That has to be built by someone. And who's going to do that work? Right?
Here's an amazing idea. Instead of bringing in permanent immigrants all the time, we let people come over, we let them earn a lot of money, do work, and in the end, they can go back home. Take that money, have a better life.
Let's talk about housing construction and the history of this country. All the really hard jobs, right, the really, physically demanding jobs on housing construction have always been performed traditionally by waves of the most recent migrants. The concreters, the bricklayers, the roofers in 40-degree temperatures, right? That was the Greeks and Italians. And I'm talking in generalisations, right? But that was the Greeks and Italians, and then they got taken over by the Serbs and the Croatians, all working hard. Right now we're seeing a lot of Afghans in the industry who work hard and provide for their families too, right? Now, if we're taking people out of the housing construction industry to work on the submarines because they're going to have to be Australian citizens.
What is this obsession with submarines? How many submarines are we going to be building, and how many people are going to be building these submarines?
We're going to need people to do that work too, to work in aged care. So
It still doesn't mean we need to keep them until they eventually pass on from old age. We don't need to bring them over to do some building and then have to support them as they get to 80, 90, 100, or whatever age they make it to. There's no requirement to do that. That's a decision that's been made.
I'm not going to be the guy. I'm not going to allow myself to become the politician who wraps myself in the flag, and then says, I don't want to let people come into South Australia who are going to do the work that no one else wants to.
Maybe work that no one else wants to do, but let's have a look at one of the reasons people might not want to do some specific types of works. One, it could be tiring. But two, as we keep bringing in people, those jobs can be done for cheaper because there's more competition. And as housing prices keep going up, well, some of those jobs aren't going to be able to pay off a house in any reasonable amount of time. So people are naturally going to go for a job which can help them afford housing.
And by the way, right, just like Malinauskas is a name that came out in the First Fleet, nor is Bernardi.
Okay.
So
that must be very funny, but I don't know what the First Fleet has to do with anything happening today.
And we're just going to, now, the extension of that is, let's just be frank and honest about it. Let's try and dispense with the culture war virtue signalling and just say, well, this is what we need.
We need a better housing to people ratio. The housing to people ratio is way off. We have way too many people for the accommodation we have.
You go from 20,000 people growing per annum to 23,000.
Let's look at the country. Let's see. I guess we had 39,000 in 1976. 127,000 in 1981, 164,000 in 1988. Those are some pretty high numbers. Back down to 19,000 in 2022. Oh, we're getting some big numbers up here. 200,000 in 2009, 271,000 in 2012, 222,000 in 2016, 400,000 in 2020. A nice drop in 2021. 443,000 in 2023. A record. 218,000, 251,000. Yeah.
Because we want to get these jobs, and we're going to do that this way, and we're going to plan to build the houses so that everyone can have a decent standard of living.
Or maybe we should build the houses and then invite people in when we have enough houses. Instead of bringing in people and then trying to squish them all into the current houses and saying, we will build more houses. How about we build houses and then we've got excess housing, then we bring the people in.
And if we do that, by the way, all we're doing is what we've always done in this state and in this country since Federation. That's made us the place that we're all proud of.
We're all proud of it. There may have been Australian pride before, but Australian pride is at all-time lows. People are suffering. People are living in tents and on the streets.
And all love the flag.
Have you seen the woke people? The wokists? They do not love the flag.
I think it's not. We just have to be honest about it.
That's not honesty. You seem way off.
Now, look, I accept there's a story in that, and it's a bit different to what we hear other people saying, but punters aren't stupid. Well, they get it.
I think in your speech, the way...
Okay, let's go back a bit.
I think people would know, anyone paying attention to my remarks on migration, population, and the need to account for growth rather than pretending it's not going to happen.
Wait, we need to account for growth instead of pretending it's not going to happen? You make it sound like it's physics, an undeniable rule that cannot change. Not a political decision that we've made.
Are well known, and I think if I did anything different, it would be called out for the inauthenticity that it had.
I feel that statement was inauthentic. We choose to bring in so many people.
I saw, don't want to be partisan, but I'll just make some political observations that are just obvious. Obviously, One Nation's on the rise. They're clearly going through a moment, if you believe the published polls. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out nationally. It's going to be of interest to me.
But back to that statement at 2:15.
Long period of time, and I think people would know, anyone paying attention to my remarks on migration, population, and the need to account for growth rather than pretending it's not going to happen.
The need to account for growth instead of pretending it's not going to happen. We control it. There's no such thing as pretending it's not going to happen. We can choose to make it happen or choose to make it not happen. I mean, in 2021, we chose to not make it happen with policies. In 2020, we chose to make it really happen. We have a whole history of policies and letting people in, not allowing people in, that made all sorts of different numbers happen. Once again, 'tis not physics. It's just the rules of man. And our government chooses. And that's maybe why there's so much One Nation now. So much support for One Nation. Because people are choosing change.